So tonight at the suite and I are tasked to give a short testimony about our journey throughout our US tour leading up to the point yesterday, last night, at the Asia Chorale Grand Prix. So I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Candice Caril-Realiza. I am an alto 2 and I'm originally from the southernmost island in the Philippines, Mindanao.
Hello, good evening and happy Sabbath to everyone. My name is Sweet Queenie Algalanza. I'm singing soprano and I'm from the central Visayas island.
So I guess to give a little background on myself and my part in the choir. So I was already here when the choir was established in 2019. Back then it was the AUP Academy Alumni Chorale. So the choir has been around for 6 years, I'd say 6 years, 7 years already. But despite that time, I'm only an active member for 2 years. Now that's because, I was a member during my 12th grade. So for my college, I went to Central Visayas, that's where I had my undergraduate studies, in Cebu. So for 4 years, I wasn't able to be an active member of the choir, but despite the distance, I was still an online supporter and spectator of the choir, and I've always admired the ministry and the heart that everyone has for service. Now, throughout the whole journey, I guess one verse that I think would summarize the entire thing would be in 2 Corinthians 12, verse 9. And if you can read it with me also, it says there, "But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Now this journey has nothing short of a miracle. From the beginning, preparing for our US Goodwill Concert Tour, second US Goodwill Concert Tour, it felt like we were walking on water. We knew we were stepping into something bigger than ourselves, but we didn't know how everything would work out. Each member had to make real personal sacrifices. Some raised their own funds, others left their jobs, others are on leave without pay, and one person actually took a gap year from school after graduating just to be a part of this mission. Oh, two actually, sorry, two. But we were never walking alone. To our families who may be watching and worshiping with us online, especially our parents, we want to say deep thank you. Behind every yes we gave to this ministry, you were there. Praying, supporting, sacrificing silently, loving us when there were no words left. Your faith was a part of every song we sang. Our parents' love was a part of this ministry too. Now in the US, our schedules were packed. Even during preparation, it was all packed. Our bodies were exhausted, but our hearts were full. We found joy in every rehearsal, every note, every moment we shared together in service to something greater than ourselves. What many people actually don't know is that before the tour, we didn't get to do our usual coaching sessions in the Philippines for our ACGP repertoire. So we were all, as you know, or maybe you may not have known, since June 2, we were actually on a US tour. So preparations were a little bit difficult. It had to be long distance with some of our members, and we had to squeeze in rehearsals in between appointments. But God has been so good to us that He has provided us everything that we needed. We lacked the preparation we were used to. Actually, I think I remember last year during SICF, I wasn't a part of that. I only got to join this year for AGP, but I would hear from the other members that they had regular rehearsal schedules, and they really prepared themselves spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically for the SICF competition last year. We felt a little bit under-equipped compared to our other competitors, our other friends, but even then, God was already moving. He sent help we didn't even know we needed. In the US, He placed the right people in our path. Mentors, musicians, people who didn't just teach us music, but deepened our understanding of the pieces we were singing. The people, the names of Sir Kirk Averitt, Professor Stephen Zork, Sir Homer Mendoza, who gave their expertise to us, even spontaneously when we asked them. And even our very own conductor's uncle, Mr. Joel Punay. They brought us to places where we could experience the very cultures our songs represented. Now, what we lacked in technical training, God replaced with something richer. Real-world experience, spiritual depth, and divine connections. Our group wasn't always complete during rehearsals. Some of us had to go back to the Philippines to attend classes, and some couldn't join the US tour because of classes and personal reasons. But we kept going. We prayed, we practiced, and we held on. And when the moment came, when we were to sing at the 62nd General Conference, it felt like everything had led to that one moment. We were overwhelmed, honored, humbled to stand on that stage, not just as singers, but as vessels for God's message. It was a privilege none of us will ever forget. Now, that was supposed to be a 2-day stay, but it was extended into a whole week. God knew our needs and met us there. And because of it, we were able to sing 2 more times, even becoming a part of the International Mass Choir on the last Sabbath. And then just when we thought the hardest part was behind us, our flight home got canceled. We were supposed to fly back to the Philippines, stay for 1 day to rest, maybe rehearse with our other members once more, just in time for AGP. But suddenly everything was uncertain. We didn't know if we'd make it. And at one point it felt a little impossible to reach Singapore. We were all in sorts. From where we were staying in Michigan, others were able to go to Chicago and be hosted for an evening by one of our members' family there. The ones left in Michigan had to wake up very early the next day and travel to Chicago because of our flight home would be from O'Hare. And somehow, everything worked out. The rescheduled flight was free, and we were all accommodated for that one unexpected extra night. And on that long travel day in the airport, tired and hungry, after we've checked all our things, we sat on the floor, eating Filipino food one of the aunties there made for us, and shared a moment together to laugh. Our limbs ached from sitting too long. Our eyes burned from sleepless nights, but someone cracked a joke about our smell, and we all laughed. The kind that only comes when you're past your limits, but not past love. When we landed in Manila, we didn't even get to go home. We opened our luggage right there at the airport, pulling out just the essentials, repacked our uniforms, and headed straight for our next flight to Singapore. Unbathed, after almost 3 days of back-to-back flights. Actually, in the airport, one of the security personnel actually made a comment on how we smelled. I think it was a little bit unprofessional, but we'll leave that up to them. But once again, God provided. What should have been a stressful, chaotic moment, it felt strangely peaceful. We were tired, but we were still moving, still being carried by something greater than us. And when we arrived in Singapore, we were still actually incomplete. We still had 3 members who had to make the flight, to make the journey to Singapore at 12 a.m. that day. Or actually the next day na. But once again, He provided. And the Balestier SDA Church opens its doors for us and gave us a space to rehearse the night before AGP. And just a few hours before the actual competition, we were finally able to be whole again. That rehearsal was short, just 3 hours, I think, but it was full of gratitude, full of surrender, full of hope. And we looked around, saw each other and knew we didn't get here by strength. We were carried completely and only by grace.
I was a part of SICF last year. We had no bus. We carried our bags and ran between venues, hoping not to be late. It was chaotic and it was tiring, but still God gave us a win. This year felt even more impossible. Coming off from international tour, we were more people, more tired, more stretched. But this time, God gave us a bus. Thank you, SICF. It seems small, but for us it meant everything. It was a whisper from heaven, I see you. I honor your obedience. I remember your steps. Before AGP, we were running on fumes, fighting jet lag, afraid to nap because our voices might close up. So instead, we stayed awake, encouraging everyone, and no stage talk, no stress, just whispers like, we got this, and let's give it back to God. Then Uncle Joel said something that changed how we approached that stage. AGP should be a celebration, not a stage to impress, but a chance to inspire. That sank deep. We weren't singing to earn anything. We were singing to say thank you. Each of us walked onto that stage carrying silent prayers, private fears, quiet pain. But our hearts were one. When we sang, we gave what we had left. Our exhaustion, our longing, our surrender, our worship. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. And that was enough for God to be glorified. Looking back, the greatest gift wasn't that medal. It was the miracle of making it. Of being held together when we should have fallen apart. Of seeing how God writes beauty out of brokenness. We didn't deserve any of it. And that's the beauty of grace. And that's what made it scared. Every moment we barely made it through. Every door that opened, every person who showed up was God's grace magnified through our weakness. This was more than a concert, more than a competition. This was a testimony. And God Himself wrote it. If you take anything from our story, let it be this. When you give God your all, even if it's in pieces, He takes it, He multiplies it, and He turns it into something more powerful than you could ever imagine. We sing not to impress, we sing to serve, to love, to give hope, to point every heart back to Him. To God be all the glory, now and always.